And welcome everyone to Neoplanet S and game number 2 of the MSL Code Gold Winners Brackets Semifinals. Whew. We have down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map the pink Zerg player, DaveDiggler, our very own arcade hero. Ranks up there with those of the ranks of Wreck-It Ralph and of man, I'm blanking on so many different arcade games. It just sounds DaveDiggler. I imagine this is a digging game. We have to tunnel into the earth. That's what I see happening. And his opponent, the purple Protoss, in the northeast corner of the map, jordasniper. jordasniper once again opting for the very close pylon placement. I do feel like this actually caused most of his problems in the first game. It is optimized for mining time, and actually, I'd like to see it here, if you're doing that. Although this is also acceptable, as you can wall off easier to keep access to the probes at minimum. But I do believe against a Zerg player, generally it is acceptable to wall off no matter what race you are. As Zerg units, while weak, are numerous, and Protoss units, while powerful, are few. And if you can restrict the movement of your Zerg player, your Zerg opponent, you'll do much better. And so that's why I think the wall with the one extra space for a Zealot is a very good way to go against most Zerg players. And also, I'm generally a fan of the Forge Fast Expand, particularly this map, as it's got a very small choke. And then once you have that second base, it's actually quite hard to take a third on this map, especially considering this map is one that actually favors base races, as it's got this crazy big circle around here, and there's no direct attack path. So if you don't have scouting and the army's going this way, and you're on this side and you're going this way, you go back and it's like, well, got a base race now, kill the enemy. And so that's really what ends up happening. So in the meantime, we see an identical build out of jordasniper. I actually am a fan of people playing practice builds. While it's entertaining to see different builds, it's actually easier to become good if you just choose one and get really good at it. And that could actually be what is happening here with jordasniper, although this is not what I would say ideal against all Zerg players. I would say that this actually looks like a pretty stable build against most races. And so it's a lot easier to get depth of skill in this one build and get it nice and crisp and clean. And you'll actually have a higher win rate than if you practice a whole bunch of builds not very well. And that's what I'm going to say. We do have more Chrono Boost saved up. It could be a 4-gate. The timings are still within range. It could be that. But because there's no Chrono Boost going down right now, I'm going to say it's not a 4-gate. And his opponent, very brazenly going for... Wow. An expansion here, although I guess according to last game, this is actually pretty safe. As last game, his opponent did this and then expanded, like, immediately. There we go. Learning from his previous follies, with the weird pylon, generally you put the pylon here and then a gateway and then another gateway, or a gateway-sized building and another gateway-sized building. But either way, it is still better than nothing, as this does constrict the units a little bit. Also, pro tip, I usually, if I'm going to build one movement blocking building, I'll build it here, as this one doesn't obstruct the flow of the enemy units, as the one here does, because they have to go up and around. So at least you get a little bit more attack time, as they're forced to go around a detour. That's my thing. Also really like this. This is something that I call, and many other people call, hiding the normal. Day 9 specifically calls it that, actually, because I watch a lot of Day 9, or I did at one point in time. Haven't watched much for a while. Mostly I watch pro games and then commentate my own stuff now. But hiding the normal means that if you get scouted, it's much less likely that they'll find something like this. So if they come into the base and they scout, and in fact, do they know that this is here? They do actually know it's there. It's unfortunate. But if they didn't know that was there, they come in and they see one gate and one robo bay, robotics facility, and then think, what in the world is he doing? Is he hiding something? What is going on? And in reality, it's a 2-gate robo. 2-gate robo expand, please? Or a 2-gate Robo attack, please. Do something. Nice. Kill that Zergling. Got it. Look at him. Like a boss. His opponent, in the meantime, has had quite a bit of time to macro himself up. He is now getting those additional gases. He should be teching very quickly. We do see plus, or that's actually a metabolic boost for speed. We don't see any evolution chambers as of yet, but a Roach Warren is going down, so we're about to see some aggression coming out here sometime soon. As generally, you don't build a Roach Warren and then do nothing. It's one of those buildings that you don't always just get. But if you do, you use it. I would actually really like to see an attack right now. You have enough energy, you could recall? Come on, go attack. It's a thing. You should go do it. And also, I'd really like to see him expand at the same time, because he's got the money. All to money. There we go. Yes, do it. Love it. Don't necessarily love that Mothership Core is not following, but it happens when you tell them to go to a certain spot and not have the Mothership Core follow a specific unit. That's kind of what happens. But it's fine. It's doable. Do we have 2 Immortals? This could actually be a scary attack. Although lots of Spine Crawlers, but Immortals, I don't know if you've watched any Carbot animations, because you should. Carbot accurately portrays the fact that Immortals kill everything in one hit, or at least anything armored, is kind of what it feels like. Some Zerglings being eaten alive by Jedi with lightsabers for hands. We're going to get a good run by here, but not enough lanes to really take anything out. There are no force fields here, so that's going to be a problem. I'd like to see him go ahead and commit to this attack and then recall out if he would like. This attack is actually a little better as there's less he can do, but I do feel that making sure he commits to some attack here and getting some damage done while this base starts to go up is really important. And also his opponent has scouted this, so he really needs to do something. Yeah, there you go. Wall something off to make sure you're not prone to any of these run-bys like I talk about. This other attack path is still completely open. So something to note. The expansion does go down, not really contested either, as there's really nothing his opponent could have done. Ooh, bam. Zerglings. Bloop. Gone. So good. Really good solid game from both of these players right now. Much higher APM than what we saw in Code Silver. This is not unexpected. Although APM is definitely not everything. A little bit of a misstep here. I think he's preparing for an attack and wants to have all of his energy available, and instead he's just going to be losing a whole bunch of macro as the army has returned home. He's now going to know that that has happened. He should be sending all of those queens back to their respective homes, as he really needs to get those larva injects, so then he can have the everything, meaning all the units. The other base is done, the expansion is done, but 25 drones to 38. He did some damage, but he's been behind in his economy the entire time. And I actually feel like he's still behind. His army, although it's now actually smaller. The economy for jordasniper is now kicked in. Not quite sure why he's taking down these rocks. That'll actually just make the attack path larger. Usually as a defender, you want to force your opponent into chokes. Some things, when you shoot them and kill them, they fall over and block the entire path. I think that's what he's thinking here. And it doesn't, just makes a bigger attack path. It's fine. It's not a big deal. Good Overlord placement, by the way. Going to see if something tries to sneak out the sides and roughly down the middle. This is an interesting place. I'd probably rather see it over here, but you know, that's a personal preference. Continuing to spread those spine crawlers farther out, trying to get that creep spread, as now he should be able to more easily keep this base up. And Jordasniper, you do have the food advantage right now. You do have the army advantage, and I do think you should be taking more advantage of that. He's feeling a little bit passive. I would say overall, I think that's something that he could perhaps work on. But it's understandable, as being aggressive is oftentimes very scary, as it feels like every time you leave, you lose. At least that's how I feel. And now the game is at a relative standstill. We do have the robotics support bay, or the robotics, I keep wanting to call it robotics support bay. The robotics bay already down. We do see chrono boost on lots of things that aren't producing, but we still have extra energy, so it's fine. There's no extended thermal lance, which is actually a really big deal. But now we do see another attack coming out, and DaveDiggler now knows that as his army is nowhere to be found. And he is going to wall off. Excellent. Woo! Roaches, got to be careful as there are immortals here. And as long as there's immortals, roaches almost aren't there. Bam. Where is he? Got it. The immortal. Got it. The fact that there's no extended thermal lance makes this Colossi substantially less powerful. Swarm hosts, generally really bad defensive units, although the fact that there's spine crawlers and roaches here will make them much better. Yeah, he almost killed his own roach, or his own queen right there. And right here, this mothership core needs to retreat immediately. It shouldn't have gone, that was part of a 1A thing. Oh no, the mothership core, there's now no retreat available, and this is actually going to start to go really poorly. Overall, he could have retreated much more easily, but he's now committed to this attack, because he's not going to be able to retreat on creep very well. He will snipe down this base again. He needs to focus down those, the drones. No, the broodlings give him enough time, and wow, that roach got launched. And I contend, once again, that Zerg are ugly. Look at that. So nasty. But the economy here didn't happen to really get hurt. 53 drones to 33 probes. He is still ahead in economy. In terms of tech, they're relatively even, and now the army size is actually in favor of DaveDiggler. So DaveDiggler, I feel like, has dug himself out of a little bit of a hole. It wasn't a too... Diggler dug himself out of a hole. Brilliant! That's what I'm going to say. Continuing to watch, make sure those other bases aren't taken, as that's a really critical thing. And I feel like the fact that jordasniper does not know that this base exists is actually a really big deal. As this will probably be what wins him the game. This base right here. That's my guess. jordasniper thinks he's got his opponent locked down on 2 bases, when instead he's on 3 bases. He thinks he has the economy lead, when instead he does not have the economy lead. He's going to continue producing Colossi, but producing Colossi on 2 bases generally means your gateway army is smaller, or you build it much slower. But also, I want to point out, you've got tons of money and some gas. This is a little bit of a misclick. You could have some more gas income if you're so gas-starved, but that's the problem with doing Colossi, and especially 1 base, but also 2 base. You don't have enough gas to do all of your tech things. Notice how much Protoss, actually all races rely on gas to have a very powerful late-game army. And now we're going to see the power of swarm hosts. Burrowing in. What are we going to do? I think that he doesn't have enough swarm hosts. That's kind of what I think. Look at the unit count. Okay. He's got a lot of roaches, got a decent number of swarm hosts. I don't know why the rest aren't there. They need to all be together. Swarm hosts by themselves are very, very vulnerable. He's going to chew his way through those locusts really quickly. And this is actually very vulnerable. If these need to retreat... Okay, now they're back on creep. They're close to creep. They should be safe, as now they move much more quickly. He needs to burrow them and push his way back. He should take out the Overlord. He should. Or he can just leave the Overlord. It's fine. This is not Grandmaster's play. He's now locked his way into the base. He depowers his own gateway. How embarrassing. That's why you generally build the pylon back here and then the units in front instead of the pylons as part of the wall. That is generally overall a problem. And now this engagement actually now is gaining a lot of traction. He's also going Corruptor. Once again, he doesn't have... He's got some of the swarm hosts here. He's got spine crawlers to beef up the swarm hosts, which should help out a lot. But he doesn't have enough corruptors, and I don't feel like he has enough swarm hosts, or spine crawlers. Man, I am all over the place tonight. I apologize. My tongue gets tangled. I've got dyslexia sometimes. And I don't believe there's actually an observer here. Is there an observer here? There is an observer. It is here. Okay, got it. So he can actually shoot that. And now the infestors, there we go. The swarm hosts now pop back out with the Colossi down. This is actually not near as scary, and jordasniper is going to throw down the GG, in my opinion, maybe a little bit preemptively. But the army supply was vastly different. Looking at the unit count, we can see that, in fact, DaveDiggler did have a big advantage, and jordasniper throwing down the GG as the engagement didn't go so hot. And just want to point this out. The reason that these swarm hosts worked on defense is because they had creep, and they had other units, particularly other ranged units that could be behind these locusts, and they had spine crawlers. You could continue to back up and be behind the spine crawlers to buy you more time and allow this to be a little bit more beefy. So good job there, DaveDiggler, digging himself further into the lead. I don't really think that works as a metaphor. Either way, we're going to be back with game number 3 in just a moment.